So today I revealed my first self-made book at the Comic Art Fest. It's a coloring book themed on the 12 lunar year zodiacs, but with each zodiac represented by a woman in the traditional attire of a different East Asian or Southeast Asian country. I colored in the year of the ox at the Art Fest during some downtime, so today I wanted to color in this year's animal, which is the year of the rabbit. I did a lot of research on this because I wanted to feature the countries that followed the lunar year zodiac to some degree, and in doing so, I got to learn a bit of the history and cultural evolutions that led to each country's defined attire. The rabbit gets to be represented by Japan in this book, and it's a woman in a yukata standing in front of a full moon. I picked Japan for the year of the rabbit due to their folktale about the moon rabbit, which is part of their traditions around the Mid-Autumn Festival. Her dress is decorated in rabbits, which I thought was a nicer and more subtle nod to the connection. Some of the pages are more subtle like this one, while others are more straightforward with the literal animal drawn on the page. Let me know if you'd like a walkthrough of the coloring book in another video. I'd be happy to flip through the pages and show what's inside. I decided to try out coloring pencils too, since it's not a medium I tend to work with. I even went out and bought a set of Prismacolors just so I could try. I remember why I don't like colored pencils. It takes forever to fill an area, and it's difficult to make a solid fill. However, colored pencils are great if you like texture, and I can see these being used in combination with another medium, like watercolor. Also, this is my first time using Prismacolor color pencils specifically, and I do see the appeal. The markings don't smear like a normal pencil. They can be layered to a large range of intensity. And my favorite aspect, the pencils seem to color blend the way I would expect colors to blend. For instance, when I was coloring in the hair, this particular set of colored pencils that I bought didn't have a black pencil, but I wanted to make her hair black. So I mixed two colors I knew make black and layered them on each other to create some nice shadows and highlights in her hair. And I think this creates a much more dynamic style of shading than it would have if I just used a pure black pencil. The Art Fest was a lot of fun. I remember selling at an anime artist alley with friends back in my college days, but this was the first time I had a whole table of my own. A few of my artist friends had tables next to mine, so I wasn't alone. It was really good to have that neighborly support, since they've been doing this more than me. They were actually the reason I decided to do this so early into my self-employment, and I'm glad they convinced me to, since I had a lot of fun. And yeah, I wasn't planning on jumping straight into art sales after quitting my tech job, so I had to rush it a bit to get some products ready. Maybe you recognize some of the prints from my last video? But the biggest effort, and probably the main product I wanted to feature, was this coloring book. I spent the last 2 to 3 months drawing this, assembling the layout, getting it printed. I was still employed while I was working on this, so managing the time to get this done during my off work hours was definitely a stressful rush. But I really loved how they came out. I've always wanted to print a book of my art, so this meant a lot for me to have. As for how I did at the Art Fest, not great. I think in total I made $130 before taxes, including sales tax, which I will need to learn more about to feel more confident with how all this works. But considering I have no brand, no public reputation, no product line beyond the one book, I thought it was pretty good for my first time event. And again, I didn't go with the intention of making a lot of money. It was a testing the waters kind of thing. Getting used to being behind a booth, exposing the stuff I created. To be honest, I was a bit nervous that no one would even like what I created, so the positive comments I got at the event were really encouraging. The Art Fest itself was a small local event, which I actually really appreciated because it meant the risks for me were low. It was also focused on the local indie comic scene, so me and my coloring book and video game fan illustrations were a little out of place. But there were a lot of kids there too, so there was some interest. Actually, probably my biggest seller were my bookmarks, which were cropped pages of my coloring book that I printed on heavier cardstock and left one side uncoated, so they were colorable as well. I think they sold well because of the low price point, but I also think the kids liked they could pick them up and hold them easily. I actually ran out of several of the designs, so I'll need to make sure I get more printed before the next event. Which, by the way, I will be at another event in June. The artist friends and I are planning to share a tent at an outdoor art and comic zine market in San Jose. So if you're in the area, maybe I'll see you there. If I do see you, let me know you found me on YouTube. I'd love to know who's watching this. And if you're interested in a coloring book yourself, I am planning to sell a few online after I set up an online shop. You can follow me here or on my social media for updates about that, and I'll add the details into this description. Hopefully this will be within the next couple weeks. I'm still playing catch up to all the logistical stuff needed to run an art business or even just get started. It's definitely more than I expected it to be. I don't know, maybe my next video I'll talk about that. Let me know if that sounds interesting to you. Anyways, thank you for watching to the end. Let me know what you think, and if you have any questions, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.